You've now seen the unedited version of the strike. Walk us through what you saw, what you're allowed to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, it was a classified briefing, and again, they should just release the video, and they've released videos for all the other strikes. But it was a classified briefing, so I will just say it didn't change the conversation we've been having, which is kind of this second strike and whether it was justified. But I think the bigger picture here, and that has really developed over the last 24 hours, is the Trump administration really speaking out of both sides of their mouth on what we're actually doing with these strikes and what their plan is with Venezuela. And for the president today and Stephen Miller to talk very openly about how Venezuela stole our oil, I guess back in 1976, 49 years ago, and that Maduro needs to go, in the words of the chief of staff to the president. I just think the bigger story here is what is the battle rhythm leading up to potentially more military action on Venezuela, and is that something the country, after Iraq and Afghanistan, that we're interested in right now?
I want to get to that subject in a second, but on this issue of the second strike, I want you to take a listen to Missouri Republican Senator Eric Schmitt talking about what he saw of the video of the second strike.
100% legally justified. If any Democrat comes out here and questions that, they're lying to you. They're lying to you because they don't like Pete Hegseth, they don't like President Trump, and they're willing to throw service members and highly decorated military men and women under the bus. And by the way, encourage people to break the chain of command because they don't like Trump.
That last comment seems like it was directed at you and the other 5 Democrats who told U.S. service members to refuse any illegal orders.
Yeah. What's interesting is that I'm a former CIA officer. I was involved in targeting operations in previous wars that America was in. This is the only time in my lifetime that I remember seeing a classified legal justification. Literally, you're not able to read it if you're a member of the public, if you're one of the service members involved in these operations. There's a secret list of about 20 terrorist organizations, as they call them, these groups that they're going after. They won't tell us who's on the list. So if there's a lack of trust, it's not in our service members. And the service members, by the way, that are coming to many of us and saying like, hey, I'm just not sure. I don't know our legal justification. Is this right? It's not about our service members. It's about the people leading. It's about the Secretary of Defense and this very sort of punch-first, sloppy way of approaching everything, a job so important as the Secretary of Defense. So it's not that we don't trust the service members. So I served alongside them my whole life. I don't trust their leadership. And that was reinforced yesterday when Mr. Hegseth came back down to Congress to talk about these strikes. Literally, as Mr. Rubio and Secretary Hegseth are telling us that the only thing they're doing is going after these boats because they're carrying drugs. At the same time, we have the chief of staff to the president captured in the Vanity Fair article talking about, well, the whole point is just to get Maduro out, right? Yeah. It's regime change. So, get your story straight before you come and brief the Senate. And again, it's the leadership I have concerns about, not the service members.
On the matter you were talking about, President Trump saying that the campaign against Venezuela will continue, quote, until such time as they, meaning the Venezuelans, return to the United States of America all of the oil, land, and other assets they stole previously from us. I guess this is a reference to the fact that American companies had a much larger presence in Venezuela's oil fields until the country put the sector under state control in the 70s. But what do you make of this framing of they stole our land, they stole our oil, about oil fields and land in Venezuela?
Well, look, I think if folks who are old enough remember the accusations against the Bush administration that they went to war in Iraq because they allegedly wanted oil, and there was nothing like, a statement from the president that we had today saying, yeah, they stole our oil, that's what we're going in, that's what we want back. You know, their oil fields were nationalized in 1976, 49 years ago. I don't think the average American woke up and said, this is something I feel passionately about. And certainly, you know, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I don't know a single person who's looking to get into another armed conflict, another potential endless war where you break it, you buy it. So I just think we should watch this space, right? When Stephen Miller, who's so close to the president and the chief of staff to the president, are all saying they want Maduro out, right? Regime change. They're all saying they want the oil. Like, they're telling you what they want to do. And I think we need to hear that and have a discussion as a country if that's something that's in our interest and we want to do.
All right, Democrat from Michigan, Senator Elissa Slotkin, thank you so much. Appreciate it.